Disney has built hundreds of rides across 6 decades. Some became icons. Pirates of the Caribbean, The Haunted Mansion, Space Mountain. Those are still running, but there is another list. Rides that were genuinely loved, genuinely strange, or genuinely terrifying. And then one day, the doors closed and the tracks went dark. Today, we are looking at rides where the technology was scrapped, the buildings were gutted, and in some cases, the entire structure was demolished and hauled away. We are talking about a 7-minute Michael Jackson film that cost $30 million, a submarine fleet that was stripped for parts and buried in a landfill. A ride so frightening, it became the first and only Disney attraction to warn guests it might be too intense for adults. And our number one spot is an Epcot ride, so beloved that fans broke into the building to document it before Disney tore the whole thing down. The first time the company had ever demolished an entire attraction structure. Make sure you stick with us until we get there, because that story is something else. If you love deep dives into theme park history, hit that subscribe button because we cover stories like this every single week. Today we are counting down 12 Disney rides you will never experience again. Let's go. Number 12. Superstar Limo, the worst ride Disney ever made. Disney's own Imagineers have called this one the worst ride we've ever done. That is not fan opinion. That is a direct quote from the Disney Plus documentary series, The Imagineering Story. Superstar Limo opened on the 8th of February, 2001 as the only dark ride at the brand new Disney California Adventure. It was supposed to be a high-speed chase through Hollywood where riders fled paparazzi. Then, Princess Diana died in a paparazzi-related car crash in 1997. The ride, building, and track were already built. Too late for a full redesign. So Imagineers slowed everything down, stripped the story, and filled the void with celebrity caricatures of Whoopi Goldberg, Regis Philbin, and Drew Carey, waving from flat-painted sets. None of them used Disney's signature audio animatronic technology, just basic moving arms and heads. The ride closed after 11 months. It was the first attraction at California Adventure to permanently shut down. One newspaper reviewer suggested the space would be better used for an audio animatronic dentist doing root canals on the people who designed it. Number 11. Adventure Through Inner Space, the ride that invented a revolution. This one matters more than most people realize. Adventure Through Inner Space, which opened at Disneyland on the 5th of August 1967, was the first ride in history to use the Omnimover system. That is the continuously moving vehicle technology that now powers the Haunted Mansion, Spaceship Earth, and a dozen other attractions worldwide. Riders boarded vehicles called Atomobiles and were simulated, shrinking to smaller than an atom through a giant prop called Monsanto's Mighty Microscope. Here is the detail that made it work. While waiting in line, guests could see previous riders through a glass tube on the microscope, apparently miniaturized and moving through the machine. That Q illusion sold the entire concept. Narrated by Paul Frees, who also voiced the ghost host in The Haunted Mansion, with a theme song by the Sherman Brothers. It closed the 2nd of September 1985 to make way for Star Tours. The Atomobiles were reportedly sent to a landfill in Mexico. The Mighty Microscope lives on as a Blink and You Miss It tribute inside the Star Tours ride film. Number 10. Body Wars, the ride that made a generation queasy. Epcot's first thrill ride shrank guests to cell size and launched them through the human body, directed by Leonard Nimoy, starring Tim Matheson and Elizabeth Shue, using the same simulator technology as Star Tours. And it made so many people sick to their stomachs that it slowly killed an entire pavilion. Body Wars opened in 1989 inside the Wonders of Life Pavilion, sponsored by MetLife. By 1994, surveys showed it was the most popular ride at Epcot, but the nausea complaints never stopped. MetLife pulled sponsorship in 2001. The pavilion went seasonal in 2004. Everything closed the 1st of January 2007. The Golden Dome still stands. The simulator base sat abandoned for years, dusty and frozen in time, before being dismantled in 2014. The most popular ride at Epcot shut down because it worked a little too well. Number 9. World of Motion. It's fun to be free. Epcot's Transportation Pavilion opened with the park on the 1st of October 1982, sponsored by General Motors. It was a whimsical Omnimover tour through the entire history of human transportation, from cavemen blowing on their sore feet to a sparkling projected metropolis of the future. More audio animatronics than any other ride in Future World. A theme song co-written by the man who wrote Yo-Ho, A Pirate's Life for Me. The ride building was shaped like a giant wheel. When GM sponsorship came up for renewal in 1992 and the economy slumped, GM stopped signing long-term contracts and demanded a new ride that sold cars instead of celebrating transportation. World of Motion closed the 2nd of January 1996. On the very last ride, carrying GM executives, the attraction broke down. The executives had to climb out of their vehicles and walk back to the exit. The building still stands as test track. If you look closely during the outdoor speed loop, there is a hidden sign that reads FN2BFRE, fun to be free. The last whisper of a ride that valued wit over adrenaline. Number 8, Captain EO. When the King of Pop commanded a spaceship. $30 million, 17 minutes of film. That works out to $1.76 million per minute. The most expensive film per minute ever produced at the time. Directed by Francis Ford Coppola. Executive produced by George Lucas. Starring Michael Jackson. Featuring Angelica Houston as the villain. Scored by James Horner. Shot on 70mm 3D film in considerable secrecy at the request of Jackson and Lucas. The 1986 attraction was one of the first true 4D experiences in theme park history, with in-theater lasers, fog machines, fiber optic starfields, and synchronized seat vibrations. When Captain EO opened at Epcot, Disney World reportedly stayed open for 60 consecutive hours to meet demand. But the production itself was chaotic behind the scenes. Imagineers described the raw footage as a mess. 3 moments in the film were out of sync and were never fixed. None of it mattered. At the height of Jackson Mania, the chance to see him singing and dancing to 2 new songs guaranteed success. Captain EO closed at Epcot in 1994 and at Disneyland in 1997. Then, Jackson died in June 2009. Fan demand brought the show back as Captain EO Tribute in 2010, though many of the original effects, including that hand-installed fiber optic starfield ceiling that took one technician 3 months to complete, were never restored. The final showing was at Epcot on the 6th of December 2015. The film has never been released on home video because the original contracts require additional payments for any showing outside a Disney park. Number 7. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, the ride that ends in hell. The only Disney attraction that killed its riders and sent them to eternal damnation. Mr. Toad's Wild Ride opened with Magic Kingdom on the 1st of October 1971. Based on a half-remembered 1,949 animated film, it sent guests careening through the English countryside in period motorcars before a head-on train collision sent them straight into a tongue-in-cheek depiction of hell, complete with heated rooms and wiggling devils. Imagineer Bill Martin said the hell ending was fine with Walt Disney himself. The Walt Disney World version was unique because it had 2 separate tracks offering 2 different ride experiences. In October 1997, rumors spread that Winnie the Pooh would replace Mr. Toad. Within 24 hours, the website SaveToad.com went live. Fans printed t-shirts reading, "Ask me why Mickey is killing Mr. Toad." A plane flew over Disney World, trailing a banner with the park president's phone number. Protesters held regular Toad-ins. Disney announced the closure with less than a week's notice, then closed it a day early to avoid a final day protest. A statue of Mr. Dog, Toad, was placed in the pet cemetery outside the Haunted Mansion. SaveToad.com is still online, 27 years later. If you are finding this interesting so far, drop a thumbs up and let us know in the comments which of these rides you actually got to experience before they disappeared. We read every single one, and we are only halfway through the list. The entries from here get heavier. Number 6. The Great Movie Ride. The centerpiece that became a time capsule. The Great Movie Ride did not just anchor a park, it created one. The original concept was a cinema-themed pavilion for Epcot called Great Moments at the Movies, but CEO Michael Eisner and Imagineering President Marty Sklar decided the idea was strong enough to build an entire theme park around it. That park became Disney MGM Studios. The ride featured nearly 50 audio animatronics recreating scenes from Casablanca, The Wizard of Oz, Singin' in the Rain, Alien, and Raiders of the Lost Ark. The James Cagney animatronic wore an actual tuxedo from the actor's personal wardrobe, provided by his family. Live cast members were built into the ride itself, with a tour guide getting hijacked by either a gangster or a cowboy, depending on which vehicle you boarded. Two different ride experiences, every single day. It ran for 28 years without a major update to its film selections. The most recent movie featured was Raiders of the Lost Ark, already 8 years old when the ride opened in 1989. The last rides were given on August 13, 2017. By the next morning, the signs were already down. The Chinese theater facade still stands. A different ride lives inside it now, but the building remembers what it was built for. Number 5. Splash Mountain, the ride that became a reckoning. For over 30 years, Splash Mountain was one of the most popular rides in any Disney park. The 52. 5. Foot Drop, over 100 audio animatronic figures. Zippity-doo-dah stuck in your head for the rest of the day. And the whole thing was themed to a film so racially controversial that Disney pulled it from circulation in 1986 and has never released it on DVD, Blu-ray, or Disney Plus in the United States. Song of the South, released in 1946, depicted Reconstruction-era plantation life in a way the NAACP protested on arrival. Imagineer Tony Baxter conceived the ride in 1983 as a way to revitalize Disneyland's empty bear country and reuse animatronics from the closing America Sings attraction. He believed using only the animated animal sequences would insulate the ride from controversy. For 3 decades, that calculus held. Then it did not. The New York Times reported that Disney executives had privately discussed removing the Song of the South theme for at least 5 years before the public announcement in June 2020. On its final day at Magic Kingdom, wait times exceeded 3 hours. The ride closed the 23rd of January 2023 at Magic Kingdom and the 31st of May 2023 at Disneyland. Disney did not host a farewell ceremony. The structure remains as Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Inside the new ride, on a shelf in Tiana's office, there are 3 small statues, a bear, a fox, and a rabbit. That is all that is left. Number 4. Journey into Imagination, One Little Spark. Dreamfinder and Figment were not just characters on a ride, they were the unofficial mascots of Epcot. The original Journey into Imagination opened the 5th of March, 1983. A 4-minute Omnimover dark ride that took guests through rooms representing art, literature, performing arts, and science, all guided by a red-bearded inventor called the Dreamfinder, and his creation, a small purple dragon named Figment. The Sherman Brothers wrote the theme song, One Little Spark. When Disney closed the ride in 1998 and reopened it a year later without the Dreamfinder, reducing Figment to a brief computer-generated cameo, the backlash was immediate and fierce. A fan campaign called Friends of Figment forced Disney to close the second version within 2 years and rebuild a third time. Over half the original ride vehicles were found discarded in dumpsters during the renovation. The third version, still running today, brought Figment back but never restored the Dreamfinder. A door inside the current ride reads, Dean Finder. That is the only trace of the character who once defined what Epcot meant. One little spark, and they threw away the match. Number 3. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. The ride they buried in a landfill. 12 custom-built submarines, 40 tons each. A lagoon holding 11.5 million gallons of water, occupying a quarter of Fantasyland's real estate. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea opened at Magic Kingdom on the 14th of October, 1971, and was one of the most beloved attractions in the park's history. It was also an operational catastrophe. Florida's sun bleached the fake coral every year, requiring the lagoon to be drained and everything repainted annually. The diesel-powered submarine fleet demanded constant mechanical attention. When the Euro-Disney financial crisis nearly bankrupted the resort in the early 1990s, parks' budgets were slashed. The ride closed the 5th of September, 1994. Disney told the public it was temporary maintenance. They demanded the Orlando Sentinel retract the story when the newspaper reported otherwise. The submarine sat abandoned in the lagoon for 2 years. In April 1996, Disney finally admitted the closure was permanent. Here is the thing. When the submarines were eventually disposed of, most were stripped and buried in a Disney-owned landfill because they contained lead. Captain Nemo's fleet, in an unmarked grave, one submarine survives, submerged in the snorkeling lagoon at Castaway Cay. Seven Dwarfs Mine Train now sits where the lagoon used to be. A cocktail called Squid's Revenge at Be Our Guest restaurant is one of the only references that remain. 11 million gallons of water, 12 submarines, and a quarter of Fantasyland, reduced to a drink garnish. Number 2. Extraterrestrial Alien Encounter. Too scary for the happiest place on Earth. The original concept was a ride based on Ridley Scott's Alien, a shooter dark ride set aboard the Nostromo where guests would battle xenomorphs. Veteran Imagineers knew an rated property was wrong for Disney and recruited George Lucas to talk CEO Michael Eisner out of it. Lucas agreed to collaborate on an original sci-fi horror concept instead. The result opened for previews at Magic Kingdom in December 1994. Early test riders screamed over the dialogue and ran for the exits. When Eisner experienced it himself in January 1995, he ordered it shut down. Not because it was too scary, because it was not scary enough. Disney spent an additional $10 million retooling the experience. It reopened the 20th of June 1995 as part of a $100 million Tomorrowland renovation. The attraction locked guests into shoulder restraints in a circular theater, plunged the room into total darkness, and used binaural sound to simulate an alien creature breathing hot air on the back of their necks, dripping warm liquid onto their shoulders, and tearing apart a maintenance worker whose screams echoed through the pitch-black chamber. Posted warnings read, "May be too intense for children and some adults." The first and only time Disney put that kind of warning on any attraction. It developed a cult following. Plans to expand it to Disneyland, Tokyo, and Paris were all canceled. It closed the 12th of October 2003 and was replaced by Stitch's Great Escape, which reused the same technology to simulate a cartoon alien burping chili dog smell into guests' faces. That replacement closed in 2018. Nobody protested. Number 1. Horizons. If we can dream it, we can do it. You walk into a place called Futureport. The departure boards list destinations that do not exist. Mesa Verde, Brava Centauri, Sea Castle. An announcer tells you that Horizons 1 is now departing. Final destination, the 21st century. You board a vehicle that lifts you gently into the dark and begins to move. And for the next 15 minutes, you pass through room after room of a future that someone actually believed in. Underwater cities, desert farms, space colonies, robots tending gardens, families video calling each other across the solar system. And the whole time, a quiet voice tells you that if we can dream it, we can do it. That was Horizons. It opened at Epcot on the 1st of October 1983, exactly 1 year after the park itself. Sponsored by General Electric. Designed as a spiritual sequel to Walt Disney's Carousel of Progress from the 1964 World's Fair. The building sat on 3 acres, stood 78 feet high, and housed 184 Omnimover vehicles. It was the only Disney ride that let guests choose their own ending, selecting from 3 options using a keypad, with the majority vote determining the finale. General Electric's sponsorship ended in 1993. Horizons first closed on Christmas Day 1994. It reopened a year later only because 2 other Future World attractions were down for renovation and Epcot needed something for guests to ride. During that brief second life, 2 fans known as Hoot and Chief gained access to the attraction and documented it in extraordinary detail, capturing photos, audio, and behind-the-scenes footage that became the definitive record of a ride Disney was about to erase. Horizons closed permanently on the 9th of January 1999. No official reason was ever given. Rumors pointed to a sinkhole beneath the building, rising maintenance costs, the loss of corporate sponsorship. Disney confirmed none of it. On the 26th of April 2000, demolition began. It was the first time in Disney history that an entire ride building had been torn down to build something new. Here is what replaced it. Mission Space, a motion simulator, a good ride, but not the same thing. Not even close. The gravity wheel scene from Horizon survives inside Mission Space's queue, rethemed but with the original Horizon symbol still visible at the center. In Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Star-Lord says he is excited to return to Epcot and ride Horizons. He does not know it is gone. That line was written as a joke. It does not land as one. Horizons was not a thrill ride. It was a promise. A 5-minute argument that the future could be kind, that technology could serve people instead of replacing them, and that the best thing humanity could build was a life worth living. Disney tore it down and poured a new foundation over the spot where it stood, but fans still quote the motto, "If we can dream it, we can do it." The building is gone. The dream is not. For me, it is Horizons, a ride built on optimism in a park that was supposed to be about the future, demolished to make room for something faster. That one stays with me. Which of these 12 rides do you wish you could have experienced one more time? Let us know in the comments. And if this kind of theme park history is what you are looking for, subscribe. We cover stories like this every single week.